All right, what's up, guys? How's it going, everybody? My name is Blitzwinger. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now just a handful of months away from the release of Marvel's Avengers, and the hype has begun building. You can certainly tell that's the, hype machine, and just in general, the overall sentiment around this game has really shifted. I think that it kind of started super duper excited, then a lot of us kind of faded away all of our expectations just because everyone seemed to be super unimpressed by the gameplay and a lot of the costume designs, but now the momentum has begun to build again. Of course, my name is Blitzwinger. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a brand new discussion video. Today, we're going to go on ahead and pitch 3 different costumes for all 6 of the main cast members of Marvel's Avengers. We're going to go on ahead and make sure that the pitch consists of costumes that have not yet been revealed. So once again, when you leave your comments down below and you're like, oh, classic Thor, well, you must have not seen the Legacy Pack that has already been confirmed. So obviously we know that there will be classic costume designs, whether it be, let's say, a Mark I Iron Man inspired look, will be in the game. So there's no point for me to pitch that. I will be pitching designs that we have not seen yet that I would love to see appear in this title. Now we're going to run through all 6 characters one at a time. I want to hear from you guys as well down in the comment section below. Let me know which of the designs do you like best? Which designs do you want to see? And of course, maybe you disagree with some of my pitches. So I would love to go on ahead and hear why. And with that all being said, let's get rocking and rolling. We're going to kick things off with the captain himself, Captain America. We're going to start a little bit goofy here. We're going to go on ahead and reveal the first costume for Cap will be Cap Wolf. Now, I know that this one is probably like, what are you talking about? That's never going to happen. But to be fair, I mean, like, look, we literally got a Marvel Legends figure for this particular character. So who would have ever thought that would happen? I mean, to be fair, it was a Captain America figure that came along with an alternate head to turn him into Cap Wolf. But still, it's something that kind of proves to me that there is a possibility. If they've done a mass retail figure for this, why not go on ahead and consider it as a character design in the game? I think it'd be a really fun kind of goofy redesign for Steve Rogers. And the other thing is that he's already appeared in a video game, in an official release, not even a mod or anything like that, in LEGO Marvel Superheroes 2. So why not throw him into Marvel's Avengers as well? Next up, I think that we have got to make a tribute skin to Endgame and that absolutely ridiculously epic moment of Captain America finally becoming worthy Captain America and wielding Mjolnir, shield, Mjolnir in hand, the costume that he wore in Endgame. Why not go on ahead and make this maybe part of some sort of like an MCU homage pack where they will literally go on ahead and maybe introduce designs for all of the different characters based on their MCU appearances. I think that would be really sweet. I think that would be very, very cool and super duper unique. Now, with that in mind, the last costume that we're going to pitch for Captain America will be actually a Steve Rogers design. So this will be kind of similar to the run in the comics where he actually gave up the mantle of being known as Captain America and just went by Steve Rogers. I think some people refer to it as like the Nomad Steve Rogers run. I think it'd be a really cool design. It's kind of actually a very similar costume to what we saw in Captain America Winter Soldier as well. So I think that that's a really cool look, and it's something that makes Cap look very, very different to his other costumes that are, you know, much more Captain America or traditionally looking like Captain America. Again, I know some people will point out here, well, what about Sam Wilson Cap? What about Bucky Barnes? To me, those are completely different people. So I'm trying to make sure that we're sticking to the character of Steve Rogers and the costumes that he specifically wore. With that in mind, let's go on ahead and transition to Black Widow. And this one honestly is super challenging because so many of her costumes are exactly the same or have very, very little variance. Like even if you look at a lot of her costumes in the MCU, they were quite similar. So I had to really get creative here to make sure that we went ahead and picked really cool, unique costumes and didn't just have an overlap where it's like, oh, well, in this one, she's got a gauntlet that's red and on this one, it's purple. It's like I really wanted to make sure that they're unique and different. And so because of that, once again, I do also want to clarify, we're sticking to Natasha Romanoff Black Widow. I'm not pitching like, oh, let's just do a Yelena Black Widow, because that's a different person already. So because of that, I'm not really pitching those types of variations. Now, with that in mind, let's get rock and rolling. This one I think would be an obvious pitch, and that would be the costume that she wears in the movie. I should be more specific, the black costume that she wears in the Black Widow movie. Considering that the movie is coming out maybe like a month and a half after the release of the video game, or at least that's what we're hoping that will happen, but obviously we'll see how everything is going in the world. But if that happens, then it'd be really cool if they went ahead and maybe with the release of the movie actually released the skin. So it's kind of almost like to celebrate the movie release. It's like, hey, here you go. You get to play as that costume in the video game. And speaking of that movie, I'm going to go on ahead and quickly transition here into the other costume, which would be the white costume for Black Widow. I think it'd be really cool if they went ahead and included that variation as well, just because it's such a stark difference to the Black Widow costume. It's such a very different design for the Natasha Romanoff character. So why not go on ahead and include it just so that it stands out and is so different compared to all the other costumes that she has. They are including that legacy pack where she's looking very classic as far as like the very original costumes that she wore in Marvel Comics. So I think that that's cool, but I think that it'd be really neat if they went ahead and did some movie inspired looks for her as well, in the form of the black costume from the Black Widow movie, as well as the white costume from the Black Widow movie. And with that in mind, we're not done with movie inspired designs, because I think that the coolest look that we've seen for her, just for the sake of it being very different to any other variation for Black Widow, where she almost looked kind of like army inspired, and that would be the Infinity War costume from Black Widow, or for Black Widow, I should say. So essentially it'd be kind of that like military green vest that she wears, and maybe you can give her the staff that she holds in or throughout that movie. I think it'd be kind of neat, so that again, you get a completely different take on the Black Widow costume. It's not just your traditional costume that she would wear. It's something very, very different, and something that, again, will still be memorable and iconic, because obviously it'd be inspired by one of the all-time great MCU movies in Infinity War. And with that, we now transition to the one and only, the God of Thunder. It will be Thor. This one was probably the one that I had the most fun picking out and thinking of what cool designs we could go with, just because Thor has had so many different variations as well. So I think that these ones are actually quite likely to happen. So let's get rocking and let's get a rolling. First and foremost, we're going to go on ahead and pitch Ultimate Thor. I know what you're saying. Wait, what? Really? Well, first of all, I think that Ultimate Thor is a really unique take on the character. He looks way different than any of his other designs. It's a really cool combination of something that takes the Norse mythology kind of inspired looks of Thor, but then also modernizes it a lot. So I think that that's really cool and neat. And plus it gives us this really great, almost like younger Thor option. So I think that that's really cool. And it's something that will be different compared to the regular costume that we see him wear in the game. So I think that that's neat. In addition to that, we then transition to a very, 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 very modern Thor, and that would be Thor 2020 costume, based on the 2020 design from the Donny Cates run on Thor. And I think that it would be really sick to see that design in the game. First of all, that comic book is doing very, very well as far as popularity within the comic book community. So I think that comic book fans would be stoked to see it. Second of all, because it's selling well, I think that there's a good chance that they would feel comfortable actually including that design in the game. Third of all, which in my opinion is most important when you're trying to pick out different costumes for a video game, is the fact that it's very different. It's a very different look compared to any other iteration of Thor. It's not going to feel like it looks very similar where you're going to be able to say, oh, well, yeah, that kind of looks a lot like classic Thor or this Thor. It's very substantially different. It's a really cool amalgamation of like different iterations of Thor all put together. And plus, within the storyline of Thor, it seems like it's probably going to be a very important part of the mythology of Thor if the run in the comics continues the way that it has so far with the 5 issues that have been released. Now, with that in mind, my personal must-have design in this particular game is going to be future King Thor. So this is the Thor that we see actually right before the Donny Cates run on Jason Aaron's run from Thor. I think it'd be so sick if we got a King Thor design. He just looks absolutely epic. It's the most powerful form of Thor, where he battles some crazy characters. I don't want to spoil any of the cool characters that Jason Aaron introduces, but man, oh man, King Thor would just be so sick to see. Once again, a costume that would look substantially different to any of the other designs that we've already pitched or they've already announced. So I think that, again, this one is a no-brainer. This is the absolute must-have design in this game. And so now we're about halfway done with the video, guys. Of course, let me know what you guys think so far down in the comment section below. Don't forget, guys, to leave a like. And of course, if you have not subscribed yet, make sure you have subscribed and turned on your notifications. I want to hear from you guys. Go on ahead and start writing your lists down in the comment section below. What 3 costumes would you want to see for each one of the main Avengers character that are included in this game? Let's rock and roll to the next one we go as we discuss the 3 costumes for Iron Man. Iron Man is probably the most challenging character to pick costumes for because he's got about a gajillion of them. So it becomes really, really super subjective. But I wanted to make sure that each armor that we chose was very unique and different compared to all the stuff that's announced or all the stuff that you can kind of expect to be announced. So let's get rocking and let's get a rolling. The first one we're going to pitch is actually going to be Silver Centurion armor. I think it's a really unique design. I think that it's one of those rare few designs where the actual shape of the character is different, because most of the time for a lot of the Iron Man armors, it's the exact same base design recolored differently with maybe like 1 or 2 different accessories. Here, it's a really substantially different looking character. He's usually got those like spike hands. He has almost kind of Wolverine with a single claw, I guess, design. He's got the shoulder pad design. So it's a really, really different look. And because of that, I think it'd be really cool to see that appear in the game. The next look, very similarly kind of pitching here, something that I think is probably quite likely to happen, and that would be stealth armor Iron Man. It's probably one of the most iconic looks outside of the red and gold design that Iron Man has, is this kind of variation of a stealth armor. So I think that that would be really cool. The usual colors they go with for this is either kind of like a dark blue or maybe even a purplish sort of color. So I think it'd be really sick if they went ahead and designed a stealth armor suit for this game as well. So I'd love to see that. And then last but certainly not least, this is the one that I think everybody would love to see, and that is Hulkbuster. Really no surprise there, but honestly, I mean, it's become one of the most popular armors that Iron Man ever wears because, well, I mean, most of the time you kind of know that if the Hulkbuster shows up, that means that there's a battle between Hulk and Iron Man, which usually results in some pretty epic action scenes. So I think that that's something that we would love to see. I don't know how likely it is to happen, just because you'd have to like justify why the Hulkbuster would be selected, because it's not just a reskin that you could go on ahead and reskin the Iron Man suit, because it's obviously substantially bigger than your regular character model. So I don't know if it's very possible, but I'd love to see it because I think it'd be a really cool variation in the armor. Plus, also shout out to Thor Buster armor, because that'd be cool too. All right, let's rock and roll. Ladies and gentlemen, next character is actually Ms. Marvel. Now, this one I had a bit of a tough time. I'm not even gonna lie. I had a really tough time selecting costumes for, because first of all, I don't know very much about Kamala Khan, Ms. Marvel. And she's a relatively new character when compared to all the other cast members that we've talked about up until this point. They've been around for, 30, 40, 50 years, whereas she's been around for like 10, not even. So because of that, I think that it becomes a lot more difficult to figure out like, okay, well, what costumes and variations could she have? But then I read a few articles where the team behind the game spoke to the fact that they're thinking of making a lot of her costumes inspired by the other Avengers. And I was like, ooh, okay, that's kind of a cool idea. And so then I started to think, okay, what crossovers would I want to see of a Ms. Marvel costume inspired by some other member of the Avengers? And these are the 3 that I came up with. First is going to be Hulk. Yes, I think it'd be absolutely crazy if they went ahead and actually made a hulked out version of Ms. Marvel, where she literally has the stretching abilities, but then she still turns like green like the Hulk would. So I think that'd be really, really cool. It'd be way over the top and super crazy looking, but I think it'd be a really cool and unique design. Now, obviously, if they don't want to go the whole route of her actually becoming a Hulk, they can go on ahead and just simply do a green and purple inspired look, which I think would still be kind of cool and a nice homage to Hulk. So either way, I think would work out very cool. Next up, this is probably the one I'm most excited for because I think it'd be really sick looking design, and that would be a Thor inspired costume. And this one would really kind of lean into almost like a Viking or like a Norse mythology sort of inspired look, just because I think it would be so substantially different to any of her more modern costumes that she wears. Having something more mythological and kind of fantasy based would look so cool, and it would be so substantially different. Like, imagine if they actually gave her some sort of weapons as well, like 2 axes or something. That'd be really, really sick looking, and I think would make for a really unique take on the character. And then last, but certainly not least, this is a bit more of a fun one, kind of like the Cap Wolf design was. I'd love to see a Fantastic Four costume, essentially paying homage to the whole comparisons that you usually draw with Mr. Fantastic. I think it'd be cool if she had a Fantastic Four inspired costume, and who knows, maybe that kind of teases like the Fantastic Four being added into the game in the future as well. And so with that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, let's go on ahead and round up the final 3 costumes that we need to discuss, and those would be for the Hulk. This one was so challenging because there's just so many different awesome Hulk designs, whether it be Planet Hulk, World War Hulk, Gray Hulk, Professor Hulk. There's just so many different iterations of the Hulk that you could go with, but these are the 3 that I chose personally, and we will be breaking kind of the rules previously mentioned of sticking to the actual character, because with the Hulk, you just, I mean, like, again, I guess if you want to stick to the rules of just Bruce Banner, you probably would go with like World War Hulk, Professor Hulk, or maybe Gray Hulk, and maybe Venom Hulk, which I guess that's a spoiler, but let's kick things off with that. Venom Hulk is going to be our first reveal here, and I think that if you read the recent comics for Absolute Carnage, you saw Hulk being possessed by the symbiote suit, and he turns into Venom Hulk. It is just such a cool looking design. Just from a visual perspective, it'd be sick, and of course, I'd love to see some sort of a hint of Spider-Man existing in this world as well, because all of us have been, I guess, kind of in a certain sense, starting up that rumor of like, ooh, does Marvel's Avengers take place in the same universe as the Spider-Man PS4 game? And if so, could there be some sort of a potential for crossover? So I think it'd be really cool to go on ahead and tease the idea that the symbiote suit is on the west coast of the gamerverse, while of course you've got Spider-Man ruling over on the east coast. So I think that that would be a really cool idea, and maybe you could make reference to a Hulk that has been possessed by a symbiote at some point in the next few Spider-Man games. Now, with that in mind, we then transition to the rule breaking moment here, because we were going to go on ahead and pick Red Hulk, because I think Red Hulk is just such a cool design. I've always thought that the dichotomy of the red and green, they really just stand out against one another so well. I know that people like the Gray Hulk design, and I do too. I think it's cool, but I just think that Red Hulk is just such a vibrant and different look. So I'd love to see a Red Hulk in the game. Yes, I'm well aware of the fact that it is not Bruce Banner, but I think for the sake of the coolness factor, you gotta include the Red Hulk. Come on. It's just too much of a cool costume and a cool variation on the Hulk not to be included in this game. And then last but certainly not least, the last costume that we're going to go on ahead and pitch here is actually going to be Maestro Hulk. So they're actually doing a new comic book storyline for Maestro Hulk. So because of that, I think there's probably going to be quite a lot of a push for that character to be more prominent both in the comic book universe and maybe even in the gamerverse as well. And so because of that, I think Maestro Hulk would be a cool variation to see in the game. And I think he's almost more likely to be selected than something that looks more like the World War Hulk design. But honestly, to me, it's a bit of a toss-up between those two looks, because they're kind of similar, inspired more of a, I guess, warrior, fantasy-based Hulk. Either one would work perfectly fine, but I'm going to go on ahead and just give the tip of the cap here to Maestro Hulk. So with that in mind, there you have it, guys. We've gone ahead and we've pitched 3 different costumes for 6 different characters, totaling 18 different looks that we'd love to see in the Avengers game, coming out very shortly. Of course, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, please don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. Let me know what you guys think. Also, let me know what costumes you would love to see in this game. Let me know down in the comment section below. Of course, again, if you don't want to pitch all 18 costumes or maybe 18 different costumes, you could literally just go on ahead and list just the ones that you would like to see for Captain America or Thor, or maybe you have just a couple for each character. Whatever it is, it's up to you. There really is no rules to this particular game. Thanks all for watching, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I'll hopefully catch you guys next time. Bye, everyone.